All right, let's start off by saying Barakatah Yahweh, Ba'Hashem Yahushai, Ba'Hashem Ruach Kodash. Welcome to another live lesson. The name of this one is Jake is About to Feel It. And you can see the signs everywhere. You know, this is something that, you know, we here at Great Millstone been speaking about for a long time, even before we were known as Great Millstone. We've been speaking about these times through the spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'Hashem Yahushai, beginning with Elder Apostle Tahar on down. And pretty much we see all the things that the Lord prophesied in his men coming to pass as we speak right now. We're in September 2nd, 2025, the hopeful year of our deliverance and the destruction and judgment of Esau. And pretty much, you know, the walls are closing in on Jake. Matter of fact, let's type in walls are closing in meaning. And this is what Esau does. This is one of his strategies. One of his strategies is what? Siege. You know, but their type of siege is pretty much to put a stranglehold on you, you know, to bring you, you know, to the point where you have no wiggle room, to use Elder Apostle. I'm sorry, to use the Elder Shawamba's term. So it says walls are closing in is a metaphorical idiom meaning someone feels overwhelmed, trapped, suffocated, or doomed by their circumstances, such as stress, anxiety, or a difficult situation. The feeling stems from a sense of limited options, and that's pretty much what Esau is giving you. He's giving you his options. You know, you're not going to have freelance. You're not going to have, you know, the freedom to do whatever you want to do. You're going to have to do what he tells you to do. You're only going to be able to do or be as you're only going to have the liberty to do something, you know, when they allow you to, because liberty cannot be confused with freedom. Freedom is the ability to be free without hindrance, you know, be able to, you know, move about. Liberty is the word I'm looking for, a privilege that's given to you by those that are in charge. All right. And Jake has this false sense of security, as we were dealing with yesterday in the lesson. It says the feeling stems from a sense of limited options, immense pressure, or a lack of control, right? Because pretty much Esau's taking the control out of people's hands. You know, as if there is no way to escape a difficult or dangerous situation. Yeah, like the movie Dark City. Like the one dude that was a detective, he was searching and searching and searching. He said, "There's no way out." You know, it's like you're trapped in a maze, and you're thinking that you're able to get out, but you can't, because you have to understand. Besides Esau, this is Yahweh Ba'Hashem Yahushai's punishment upon us. You know, and there's no way we can get out. Remember what the scripture, what the curses says. The curse says that these curses are going to follow you wherever you go. They're going to overtake you until thou be destroyed. And boy, if we have not been destroyed, you know, matter of fact, the scripture says that, you know, there's no nation on earth that has suffered the things that Israel has suffered. You know, Jerusalem, which is another name for Israel. All right. So I was reading here in the book of Zechariah earlier, which Lord's what I'm going to highlight that. But before I do that, let me let this thing, because this thing be bugging out. Let me just let Satan do his thing. All right. Then the Lord's going to do his thing, because Satan works for the Lord. I want to see if this term comes back up, because here it goes. False security definition. A false security is a state of feeling safe, secure, or protected. And pretty much the walls are closing in on Jake, and all Jake can think about is how hard things are getting. You know how their bills, they're not able to pay their bills, and especially these women. You know, you have some Edomite men bugging out, you know, some Jake men, but it's mostly women that are bugging out in these times because the gravy train then come to an end. You know, no more gravy train. No, men ain't marrying your monkey ass. No, they don't give a damn about you anymore. They see right through your bullshit. The gig is up. You know, your sleight of hand and the shit that worked back in the days ain't working anymore. You know, you're pretty much completely you're gonna be pretty much completely shut out. And this is the Heavenly Father Yahweh Bashem Yahushai's way of humbling you women, because you women have been led out on a tangent. You've been given liberty, and this is why the scriptures say, "Give not a wicked woman liberty to gather abroad," because this is the product. This is what you get. You know, these are the circumstances, or should I say, these are the the things that happen when you allow these women to have too much liberty, too much freedom. You see, and now they're feeling the crunch because men ain't checking for them like they used to. You know, and they thought that this gravy train was going to ride on and on and on because they have the same mindset as the serpent. Serpent, they think that they're going to continue to rule forever, that their rulership is going to be ongoing. So you're in a false sense of security. But the problem is you think you're safe, even though you catch in hell, even though you can't pay your bills, even though you're complaining on how you're working 2-3 jobs, you live in your car, blah, 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 whatever the case is, but you still don't feel, you know, in danger of the things that are coming. And that's pretty much where you're at, in a false sense of security. So this devil, while you're concerned about that and the BS that's going on in the entertainment world, these devils are closing in their grip on the final stages of their agenda, which is the beast system. It says it is a misperception that creates an illusion of safety, leading to complacency, right? A lack of awareness, right? So you become complacent, you become too comfortable. You don't look around anymore. You know, you're pretty much, you know, get into that state where you're super comfortable and everything starts to, you know, like when you're an athlete, right? And you work out hard, you know, to keep, you know, on point. You know, if you're playing basketball, you know, there's certain, you know, practices and certain things you do to stay sharp. You know, if you bodybuild or whatever the case may be. But if you stop doing it and you lay on the couch because you got comfortable, because you reach a certain plateau and you no longer need that, you think in your mind, what's going to happen after a while? Those muscles are going to leave, fat's going to come up, you're going to look sloppy. And this is pretty much where Jake is at spiritually. They're in a sloppy, comfortable spirit. So they have pretty much a lack of awareness, complacency, an illusion of safety, of actual risk, a lack of awareness of actual risk, and the failure to take necessary precautions. See? So you're pretty much left out there. So when I was reading through this in Zechariah 11, I'm going to start at 4. It says, "Thus saith the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, my power, feed the flock of the slaughter." So you have a certain amount of Israelites out there that are set up for the slaughter. Let's go real quick to Isaiah 65. God damn, man, all this bullshit. Just hit these so that they could just freaking finally open up. Damn. All right. As the new wine is found in the cluster, and one saith, "Destroy it not, for a blessing is in it," so will I do for my servants' sakes, that I may not destroy them all. But he is going to destroy a certain portion of them, and that certain portion of them is going to be 2/3 here in America, Babylon the Great. Not what these other big head clowns say it is. It's talking about the 2/3 and the 1/3 is talking about here in America. This is that land. And this is where the greatest deliverance is going to happen. It says, and I will bring forth a seed out of Jacob, which is what? The elect, and out of Judah, an inheritor of my mountains, which eventually is Yahushai. You know, you're talking about Yahushai, and then you have the scriptures say the set thrones of David. It says, and mine elect shall inherit it, and my servants shall dwell there. So it's the ones that the Lord chose from the beginning that are doing his work, that are pushing forward, you know, and carrying, you know, this truth on their backs, you know, and that takes patience, which patience means to suffer. And eventually that patient suffering salvation, it also around the elect so that they're not touched by what everybody else is about to be touched by. That's why it says, and then shall it be known who am I chosen. Still going to be tried, but nevertheless, the elect are going to stand out above and beyond everyone else on the planet. Like the elder Kanak, you know, was sharing a dream or vision that his woman had. You know, he told me about it, and you know, I put the ball in his court if he wanted to speak on it. You know, I didn't know if he wanted to speak on it or not. He spoke on it yesterday, so you know, she said that there was shit was breaking out everywhere. It was like Jacob's trouble. You know, I believe she said in the distance you could see bombs going off. You know, and then you know the wave of fire and everything. And he said by the time it got to where they were at, all they felt was just like a little wind, right? And then eventually, as the dream progressed, I'm not sure if it was a cop, a security guard, a military man. One of them individuals tried to grab her, and before he got a chance to grab her, his whole arm disintegrated. You know, so this is what the Lord is doing for his elect. This is what the Lord is going to do to protect his elect. You know, there's going to be divine intervention because this is the only, you got to understand, you're dealing with a madman. You're dealing with a individual that blood is nothing to them, you know, and the whole world is being run by Amalek. And you see what they're doing over there, you know, in the Gaza Strip and all those areas over there, Palestine or whatever the case is. So to them, blood is nothing. They'll shed their own people's blood, you know, just to accomplish a mission. You know, so you can't reason with a madman. This is why the Lord is going to have to step in to protect us. That's why I said when the enemy shall come in as a flood, the Spirit of the Lord shall lift up a standard against him. But that's only for the elect, not for 2/3 of Israel. So it goes on to say, and Sharon shall be a fold of flocks, and the valley of Achor a place for the herds to lie down in. For my people that have sought me, right? So there's going to be shade, relief, comfort in these uncomfortable times for the elect. And what I mean by comfort, I'm not talking about comfort as being able to sit back on the couch, even though, you know, the scriptures say, as we read on, that my servant shall rejoice, so on and so forth. But because, you know, the elect, you know, if we be the elect, we're going to be in the midst of everything. But then we're going to feel the uncomfortableness, but then the Lord is going to, you know, comfort us by protecting us. That's why it says, and wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times and strength of salvation. But here goes let's go back to real quick to Zechariah 11 and 4 here. It says, feed the flock of the slaughter. So Isaiah 65 and 11 says, but ye are they that forsake the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. This is the flock of the slaughter that forget my holy mountain. And this is also dealing with you individuals, you know, Jake out there just that don't know, but also you Jakes that know the truth and you're distorting the truth. You're perverting the truth. The Lord's going to deal with you too. That prepare a table for that truth. Who is that truth? That's Esau. And they're preparing that table by what? By helping him garnish that table, by helping him, you know, put, you know, all these so-called amenities on the table, you know, the tablecloths and the plates and the forks, knives, spoons, cups, you know, the drink offering of Esau and all that, Babylonian juice and all that. They're helping to furnish that for the so-called New World Order, because you have some Jakes that's dead set on helping Esau, no matter what. You can't sway them. You know, Those are the ultimate symbols. You have agents within the camps that are helping, these devils, to try to destroy this truth so that they can continue on, with this demonic mission that they have. And the Lord's going to deal with every last one of you. And that furnished the drink offering unto that number, right? What is that number? That's the 2/3 that we read of in Zechariah, the 13th chapter. And what is a drink offering? Meaning they're preparing them for the slaughter. Because you have a certain amount of Israelites here in America, numbered in the 2/3 of Israel, according to biblical prophecy, that will be destroyed. So they're the ones that have been furnished with the drink offering, and they are the ones that are helping Esau set up this trap, but they're going to fall into it. Remember, it says, they that consent unto them shall be had in derision. Therefore will I number you to the sword, see, the flock of the slaughter, and you shall all bow down to the slaughter. See, so Jake is about to feel it. They're feeling it financially now. They're feeling it, as far as not being able to get certain jobs or whatever the case may be. But you're going to really start feeling the crunch, because Esau ain't playing. They're coming down with great wrath because they know that they have but a short time. And where the hell is Donald Trump? I was listening to the Elder Pastor's video yesterday. I believe it was the 2 hour and 24-minute video, right? Which that's a short video for back in the days, just for those of y'all that don't know, because the classes back then were at least 3 hours long or longer. And towards the end of the lesson, I heard him say something, and I said, "Did I hear the apostle right?" He said, "Trump's missing." What? So I looked it up. And there's like a few little things here and there, but they're not really talking about it. They said his health is deteriorating. He ain't looking too good. They're showing some footage from back in June. So they don't know where the hell he's been. And this guy likes to shoot his mouth. So it's not like him to be missing from the public eye for almost a week now. So what's going on? So it says, and you shall all bow down to the slaughter. And he has to be that cruel Lord. And if he's not, let's say he drops dead and they put somebody else in there. Well, guess what? The next candidate in line, unless they put somebody else, is this guy, J.D. Vance, which is the vice president right now. So let's see. Because when I called, you did not answer, right? How long has the Lord been calling? Do you think the Lord is going to call forever? Seek ye the Lord while he may be found. Pretty much grab on to the merciful hand of the Lord that he's extending to you so that you can be protected in these times. Because there's no other way. Because remember, this is going to be a worldwide event. This is a worldwide thing where it's going to affect all people on the planet Earth that are on the grid. Anyone that's on this grid is going to affect them. It says, when I spake, you did not hear, but did evil before mine eyes, and did choose that wherein I delighted not. So you pretty much, pissed the Lord off. So the Lord is about to deal with you. Yeah. Okay. The elder pastor said everyone thinks he's dead. Yeah, he might just be. Because I was just listening to this Jake that the elder Aratazar here in the Atlanta camp, sent me. And pretty much, they don't know what the hell is going on. Some people saying he's dead. Some people, they don't know what the hell is going on. And this guy loves the limelight. So there's no way that he can go 6 days, almost a week, without appearing, in front of people to shoot his mouth. It says, therefore, thus saith the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, behold, my servants shall eat. So the ones that have been doing the work of the Lord, they're going to eat. They're going to be taken care of. They're going to be good to go. But you shall be hungry. But you that forsook the Lord, those of you Jakes out there in the world that talk shit, scoff, mock, and those of you Israelites that are in the truth, that are leaders, that are leading the flock astray, you're going to feel the crunch too. The Lord, when the Lord said he's not a respecter of person, he don't respect anybody's person. Everyone's going to be dealt with according to what they do. Those of you that are perverting the gospel, changing the gospel, trying to take on that scholarly mind, and try to be like Esau. Now you're confusing the people. You got the IUIC confusing the people, say we don't know the Lord's name. It's Yahweh. It could be Yahweh. It could be this, could be that. Then you have the Genesis. Now he's throwing in Yahweh in there. Or some call him Yahweh. Throwing all type of confusion out there. All of you are going to be dealt with. The Most High is going to deal with every last one of you. You're going to feel that crunch. Especially you that should know better. Behold, my servant shall drink. He's been MIA for about a week or more. Wow. It says, but you shall be thirsty. Behold, my servant shall rejoice, but ye shall be ashamed. You're going to be ashamed because a lot of you guys come into this thing to try to make money. Scriptures speak about don't do this thing for filthy lucre's sake. And guys read that, and it just goes right past them. Or that's just something the Apostle Paul wrote or the Apostle Peter wrote. The Apostle Paul, that don't really mean that. The only thing we deal with in the Apostle Paul is just Ephesians, the 6th chapter. We don't deal with any of his other writings. Or we deal with this, I'm just merely paraphrasing. I'm not saying that that's what they say they cast all the work, but they cast a lot of the letters or epistles that the Apostle Paul wrote. So you might as well just cast it all out. You might as well cast out majority of the New Testament from Acts, damn near all the way to just before right to Hebrews around there, and actually Peter's, the book of Peter, 1st and 2nd. It says, behold, my servant shall sing for joy of heart, but you shall cry for sorrow of heart. He took himself out when he was near him. Yeah. That's Nero Trump. And shall howl for vexation of spirit. Right, you're going to howl for vexation of spirit. Matter of fact, let's look up this word howl. That don't sound too good. When you howling, that means you're in extreme pain or you're in extreme horror. Or both. Let's look up the word howl. It says, you shall howl. Let's see. Servant shall sing for joy of heart, but you shall cry for sorrow of heart and shall howl. Wow. Yalal. The word there is yalal. Yeah. The word there is yalal. Yalal is to howl, wail, make a howling. Let's look up this word howl. So you can get a better idea of what it means. What unless I just copied how by accident. I'm telling you, Israelites going to take over. All right, looks like we may be back on. So just let me know, you brothers. Screen went blank. Yep. Black. Yep. Blank. Yeah. Con. All right. So, okay, cool. The water. So it says, howl, a long, loud, doleful cry uttered by an animal such as a dog or wolf, make a howling sound. So you're going to howl. That's going to come from the depths and of your soul. You know, it's going to come from way deep down inside. You know, like when a child is crying, you know, and they're just crying and crying and crying. They get to the point where they go, you know, that's you're going to be, but it's a lot louder. You know, that's going to come from the innermost, you know, horrors of your soul, you know, from the shit that's coming. You think shit is going to be sweet out here. The Lord don't call himself, you know, he ain't known as a king of terrors for no reason. So let's read this again. This is the book of Isaiah 65. Now you want to move fast, right? Good. Isaiah 65 and 14. Behold, my servant shall sing for joy of heart, but you shall cry for sorrow of heart, and shall howl for vexation of spirit. And you shall leave your name for a curse unto my chosen, for the Lord power shall slay thee, and call his servants by another name. So you're going to be done. It says that he who blesseth himself in the earth shall bless himself in the power of truth. And if you're going to bless yourself, we're going to bless ourselves in the power of truth. The Lord, we're going to have the Lord's name. That's the anointing prayer. And he that sweareth in the earth shall swear by the power of truth, which is Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, because the former troubles are forgotten. This is for the elect. And because they are they are hid from mine eyes. So these individuals that say that the Most High is going to destroy the ones that don't repent and going to have them burn in hell forever, the Lord said that, and because they are, it says, because the former troubles are forgotten, and because they are hid from mine eyes. The scriptures say that people shall be all righteous. It says that the Lord, the deliverer, shall come to Zion and shall, wipe away all iniquities. It's just merely paraphrasing. So what the hell are you guys talking about? So let's go back to Zechariah. Matter of fact, no. Let's deal with these individuals, these forward, perverting, perverse spirit changing the doctrine of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, bringing nothing but total and mass confusion, to Jake out there. This is for you. Proverbs 6 and 12. A naughty person, a wicked man, walketh with a froward mouth, a perverse mouth. He winketh with his eyes. He speaketh with his feet. He teacheth with his fingers. Yeah, like somebody might say something and they really don't mean it, and they'll look at you and they'll wink their eye, It says frowardness is in his heart, meaning perverseness. He devises mischief continually. He soweth discord. We know individuals like that. Therefore shall his calamity come suddenly. Suddenly shall he be broken without remedy. And what do the scriptures say about concerning that? Let's matter of fact, let me open this up. Let me go to Proverbs 24. Then I got, there's another one there. Proverbs 24:21 says, my son, fear thou Yahweh Bashem Yahushai and the king, and meddle not with them that are given to change, like the IUIC and others that are starting to go down that same route. For their calamity shall rise suddenly, see, and who knoweth the ruin of them both? So it's going, like Elder Pastor keeps saying, watch what the Lord's going to do to the IUIC. It says, and who knoweth the ruin of them both? Matter of fact, let's look this up in the NLT, and then we'll go to the next precept. I'm sorry, we're going to the, so used to going to the root words. NLT, for disaster will hit them suddenly. Damn. Who knows what punishment will come from the Lord and the king? NIV, for those two will send sudden destruction on them, and who knows what calamities they can bring. right? Because you have the cruel Lord, you know, he got to be, you know, and you see the things that are happening. They're snatching parents away from their children. They're putting these children through traumatic experiences by just rolling up on their fathers or mothers or whatever and just tackling them, you know, and wrestling them to the ground and putting cuffs on them and pushing the children out of the way. This ain't nothing more than what was going on during slavery when they would snatch the children away from their parents and sell them to other, you know, plantation owners. So these devils don't give a shit. They don't care about themselves. You think they're gonna give a damn about you? All, you know, when the Latinos for Trump, right? Blacks for Trump, all this shit. You know, MAGA and all these different Edomites that voted for this devil. And what did he do? He stabbed you in the back. Because that's what the devil does. You know he was a snake, bitch. All right, so let's go from there to Proverbs 29 and 1. It says, he that being often reproved hardeneth his neck shall suddenly be destroyed, and that without remedy. All right. So going back to Proverbs 6 and 15, therefore shall his calamity come suddenly, suddenly shall he be broken without remedy. So let's look up this word suddenly. I'm not talking about the Jeffrey Osborne song. So the word there is patha'am, suddenly, surprisingly. See? So one day you're going to be walking down the street, right, minding your own business, whistling Dixie, and the next thing you know, you're going to be in a concentration camp. You're going, ICE agents and FEMA troops and different paramilitary groups and police groups are going to roll up on you, bust you upside their head. You know, they might put a black mask over you. They might hog tie your ass and throw you in the back of a unmarked van or a big ass truck. They show you that in the movie Handmaid's Tale, where they had they were going around grabbing everybody up and then bringing them to a warehouse, checking them for diseases, checking them, the women, to see if they were fertile, you know, tagging them. They showed a wristband. They showed them putting their right arm in the wristband and getting a wristband on their thing. But we know it's going to be it's going to be the MOTB, which is the micro C hip. And then what do? They stacked them in the back of these pickup trucks, not pickup trucks, rigs. And then it said livestock, but they crossed the livestock out and put the number of people that were in there and locked the shit up, send them off. Then you see another scene where you have a bunch of Jakes freezing, you know, in a truck. Then you see another scene where they're marching Jake in those different facilities, you know, these different warehouses. It's going to get bad out here. See, these detention centers, you people are out there, you know, cheering for the so-called Latinos to be put in them, you know, in them cages. Well, guess what? Those cages are reserved for you too. You're going to get it too. Remember, this is going to be a worldwide event. Revelation 2:10. Yep. Fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison that you may be tried, and you shall have tribulation 10 days. Be thou faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life. Right. Because at the end of the day, the elect are going to be protected. But you out there that are not a part of the elect, that have scoffed at this word, that have not taken it serious, you're going to catch it. You're going to be in a world of hurt. And the thing about it is you're not going to have any answers. You're not going to have any help. You're not going to be able to call on anything or anybody. You're going to try to call on sweet Jesus, and sweet Jesus ain't going to pick up the phone. You know, you're going to pick up and dial sweet Jesus, and guess what? There's going to be, the line's going to be dead. So it says here in Psalms 124:6, this is for the elect, the scripture that the elder Apostle just posted, Psalms 124:6. Blessed be Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, who have not given us as a prey to their teeth, because Esau is coming down like this great lion. They're the predator. And the poor, especially the Israelites, are the prey. And they're setting up all these different traps worldwide. And Jake is falling right into it. Because Esau is not going to set up a trap and say, look, this is a trap. He's going to set it up in a way that you think it's safe to go into, because you're going to run to safety. That's what the scriptures say that no longer will Jake stay upon them that smote them, but shall stay upon them, that shall stay upon him in truth, in the Lord Yahweh Bashem El Shai, in truth. And a lot of you out there don't have the truth, and you push the truth away. So you're going to fall as a prey to the teeth of these madmen. But at the end of the day, the elect are going to be protected. And some of the elect will be put in these situations, but they will be delivered. As it says here, blessed be the Lord Yahweh Bashem El Shai, who have not given us as a prey to their teeth. Our soul is escaped as a bird out of the snare of the fowlers. The fowler is what? A bird catcher. The snare is what? It's a trap. That's these detention centers, these prison centers, concentration camps, whatever you want to call it, these different, prison complex, places that they have set up, for this time. And we've been speaking about this, about the time of the hour of martial law. They have little, incidents that broke out here and there where they declared a national emergency in this city or that particular city or this state or whatever, but it's going to be worldwide. The snare is broken, the prison is broken, and we are escaped. So the Lord can cause an angel to come there and break us out. He could put the spirit on one of the guards to allow brothers to get out. He can have a brother with his head in the guillotine, and the guillotine's coming down, and all of a sudden something happens to where the guillotine breaks. This is divine intervention. The standard of the Lord. When the enemy shall come in like the flood, the spirit of the Lord shall lift up a standard against him, just like he did for our forefathers in Egypt. When that gigantic chariot that was following Israel saw the Egyptians' army gaining on Israel, what did Yahweh do? He put that chariot in reverse, hovered down between the camp of Israel and the Egyptian military, and turned off all the lights in the back and just left the lights out on the front. So them devils were stumbling and fumbling. See? It says, our help is in the name of Yahweh Bashem El Shai, who made heaven and earth. So going back to Isaiah 65 and 16, that he who blesseth himself in the earth shall bless himself in the power of truth, and he that sweareth in the earth shall swear by the power of truth, because the former troubles are forgotten, and because they are hid from mine eyes. So the Lord is going to forgive all of our iniquities, from the most righteous Jake, you could say, to the most wickedest Jake, because this is the promise, this is the seed that the Lord promised Abraham that he would exalt, and he's not going to break his word, not even for his great name's sake. So going back to Zechariah 11 and 5, whose possessors slay them, that's Esau, and hold themselves not guilty, right? And they don't hold themselves guilty. That's why the Lord said he will not at all acquit the wicked. You've done a lot of wickedness, and you're going to have to be dealt with, and you will be dealt with. Elder Pastor, I put Revelation 20 and 4, and I saw thrones, and they that sat upon them, and judgment was given unto them. And I saw the souls of them that were beheaded for the witness of Yahushua and for the word of the Most High, and which had not worshipped the beast, neither his image, neither have received his mark upon their foreheads or in their hands, and they lived and reigned with Yahushua 1,000 years. And that's called what? That's called suffering, because you have kept the word of my patience. Meaning you suffered for this word. You went through the tribulations and the hardships and the humiliation. I'm also going to keep thee from the hour of temptation. I got your back. Don't worry. That's what the Lord is saying. So we don't know how exactly it's going to go down, but it's going to go down. Just like when Elijah fled, for those 3.5 years when there was a great famine because there was no rain, he didn't know where he was going. He didn't know like how he was gonna sustain himself. But the Lord sustained him the whole time he was out there. See? It says, "For I will no more pity the inhabitants of the land." I'm sorry. And they that sell them say, "Blessed be the Lord, for I am rich." Right. And they still selling Jake. It says, "And their own shepherds pity them not." This is these pork chop eating preachers on the pulpit. These poison disseminators. These asp, drink providing to Jake, the Babylonian juice pork chop eating preachers that are spewing that bullshit to Jake. It says, "For I will no more pity the inhabitants of the land, saith the Lord Yahweh Bashem El Shai, but I will deliver the men, everyone into his neighbor's hand." Right? You're gonna have race wars, you're gonna have class wars, you're gonna have civil war, you're gonna have Jake fighting against Jake, Esau fighting against Esau out of desperation, trying to get whatever provisions they can to survive for them and their families. Revelation 3:10. We believe. Revelation 3:10 NLT. "Because you have obeyed my command to persevere, Salakia, I will protect you from the great time of testing," beautiful, "that will come upon the whole world to test those who belong to this world." So the Lord is going to test who is his faithful servants and who is not. It says, "And into the hand of his king." So it says, everyone into his neighbor's hand. I will deliver the men, everyone to his neighbor's hands, right? And into the hand of his king, right? Because you're going to have these individuals that are set up as rulers that are going to tell you, okay, this is going on, this is the situation, you all need to run to this, there's a military complex or a military men's station at this place, go here, or there's a governmental agency set up over here for you, go over there, so that you can, get your rations or whatever the case may be. That's all a trap. And you had a lot of these preppers and different individuals that said that. He said, look, whenever society breaks down and they set up military stations or governmental, stations, and they say, go there for help, he said, do not go. Because pretty much it's a trap. And they shall smite the land, and out of their hand I will not deliver them, right? Because the Lord is setting you up because you are the flock of the slaughter. You refuse to obey the Lord, well, guess what? The Lord is going to deliver you to the slaughter. He's going to gift wrap you for Esau. And I will feed the flock of slaughter, even you, O poor of the flock. And I took unto me 2 staffs, the one I called beauty, and the other I called bands, and I fed the flock. So the Lord did everything that he was supposed to do, He didn't miss out on anything. You can read Isaiah 5. He said, look, what more could have been done to my vineyard that I haven't done? I dug it, I dunged it, I prepped it, I put seed on. I mean, everything was done perfectly. What did I lack yet, So how in the hell did you turn out the way you did? It says, 3 shepherds also I cut off in 1 month, and my soul loathed them, and their soul also abhorred me. Then said I will not feed you. That dieth, let it die. This reminds me of, I think that's Jeremiah, either 5 or 15. They that are to the dogs. Let me see. Let me try to get that real quick. I see the Jeremiah 5 or Jeremiah 15. Okay, 15. Let's try 15. Jeremiah 15. Yep. 15, and I started 1. Then saith Yahweh Bashem El Shai unto me, though Moses and Samuel stood before me, yet my mind could not be toward this people, meaning he was not going to be pacified towards the 2/3 here in America. It says, cast them out of my sight and let them go forth. And it shall come to pass, if they say unto thee, whither shall we go forth? Then thou shalt tell them, thus saith the Lord. It says, such as are for death to death, and such as are for the sword to the sword, and such as are for the famine to the famine, and such as are for the captivity to the captivity. So shit is about to pop. It's getting ready to pop. It's getting ready to blow. You know, Jacob's about to really feel the wrath of the Lord coming down upon them. When it comes down on you through the spirit and power of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, through these devils, man. You know, and you're going to have Jake devils. You know, you're going to have so-called black, you know, devils. You're going to have so-called Latino devils, Native American Indian devils that are in this man's military, that are in, you know, his police forces, that are in these different paramilitary forces that are going to be coming down on you too. Because it's going to be the wrath of the Lord coming down on you. It says that they shall be as madmen, sparing none. Why? It's not because of themselves, but because the Lord's going to put a spirit on them to do that. Because it's the vengeance of the Lord that's going to come down crashing upon you. So going back to Zechariah 11 and 9, then said I will not feed you that dieth, let it die, and that is to be cut off, let it be cut off, and let the rest eat everyone the flesh of another. Yeah, because there's going to be cannibalism too. You know? You got to remember, these people in America are not used to hardships as far as, you know, not being able to eat for the most part. You see how big and fat and greasy and out of shape and just how nasty Jake's diet is out here. I'm just dealing with Jake. I mean, it's horrendous. There's no limitation. There's no degree of discipline. Just shoveling shit down their mouth and throat and just eating and just getting bigger and bigger blob, stacking blobs on top of blob on top of blob. I didn't know they stack shit that high. You know? They don't have a clue, and they don't take any herbs. They don't take any stuff. They don't take shit. They just eat whatever the hell they want at any time of the night. And these devils have food places that are open 24/7. That's demonic in itself. It says, and I took my staff, even beauty, and cut it asunder. Right, let's look up this word for beauty, which that goes into the covenant, you know, with Jacob and with Judah and Ephraim, the two kingdoms. The word there is na'im for beauty. It says kindness, pleasantness, delightfulness, beauty, favor. Right. The favor is what? The covenant, the agreement. Delightfulness, symbolic name of one of the two staffs. Pleasantness. Excuse me. All right, so let's go back, because it's going to break it down right there in the same chapter. In the same verse. It says, and I took my staff, even beauty, and cut it asunder. Right, he severed it, that I might break my covenant, which I had made with all the people. Right, those are the kindnesses and the mercies. The Lord broke that. Why? Because we broke our part of the deal. You know, it goes deeper, but no, we'll just leave it at the surface. And it was broken in that day, and so the poor of the flock that waited upon me knew that it was the word of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. And you're going to know. Then shall they know that a prophet has been among them. You're going to know when you start feeling that, you know, like that individual that came to the brothers out there in New York, right? The younger brothers in New York, they camped. He said, y'all were right all along. Y'all were right all along. 10, 15 years ago on 34th and 7th. I've been looking for y'all everywhere. I can't find y'all. Well, that's going to be an everyday occurrence in the near future. Once this whole shit goes down. Once they pull the linchpin. Matter of fact, let's look up that word linchpin. Let's see what it says for linchpin. Linchpin. I don't know if it's one word or two. Linchpin definition. It says a person or thing vital to an enterprise or organization. A pin passed through the end of an axle to keep a wheel in position. Right. So you know how you got like an axle, and then they have like certain metal. I forget what they call those. You know, you push it through the little hole, and then you open the ends up so that it doesn't come back out. That's a linchpin. And if that breaks, comes off, guess what? The whole mechanism falls apart. So let's see. There was another linchpin something. Linchpin. Damn, there was something else that popped up. Let's see. Used for. It says a linchpin, also spelled linchpin, is a fastener used to prevent a wheel or other parts from sliding off the axle upon which it is riding. Right. And once that pin comes apart, guess what? The whole mechanism comes apart. All right. So going back to Zechariah 11 and 12, and I said unto them, if you think good, give me the price, and if not, forbear. So they weighed for my price 30 pieces of silver. That goes into something else. And the Lord said unto me, cast it unto the potter, a goodly price that I was prized at of them. And I took the 30 pieces of silver and cast them to the potter in the house of the Lord. All right. So now that was like a separate thought, right? It was a prophetic interjection. And now we're going back to the previous one. Then I cut asunder mine other staff, even bands. Bands is what holds things together. That's the glue, that I might break the brotherhood between Judah and Israel. And the Lord said unto me, right. So right now you got, Issachar and the Latin tribes calling out to Judah for help, because they're well experienced in the shit that's going on and happening to them. And Judah was like, nah, fuck y'all. Y'all was racist against us. Y'all said this, that, and the other. So the hell with y'all. And then even some of them Latin tribes said, look, what you see happening to us, they're going to come and get you too. And guess what? That's happening. You got, so-called Jamaicans, so-called Haitians, other of the so-called black tribes that are catching hell and being deported too. That's going to extend to everybody. All the undesirables, gang members, they considered to be, career criminals. That applies to everybody, but eventually it applies to everybody. Because this is just the excuse. They need an excuse to have some type of legislation in place that they can expand the power of it over everybody. So when you see one person being afflicted by something, a particular law, and you rejoicing in that, guess what? That law is going to be eventually extended to affect you too. It says, and the Lord said unto me, take unto thee yet the instruments of a foolish shepherd. Yeah, that's these pork chop eating preachers. That's, some of you leaders, in Israel that are a bunch of foolish shepherds. That's why you're not telling the people about the MOTB, which is the micro C hip, and not warning them not to take it. You're telling them to take the jump shot. Just a whole lot of nastiness going on. For lo, I will raise up a shepherd in the land which shall not visit those that be cut off. Right. And when you don't tell Jake, that these things are coming, you're stealing the word from them. That's what it means in Jeremiah 29, steal the word from his neighbor. You're not telling them what's coming. You're putting them at ease. And here it is. There's impending danger. It is coming. The signs are there. But because they're sheep and you told them not to worry, they're not worried about it. So they become complacent, comfortable. And guess what? Until that event certainly takes hold of them. So Jake is about to feel it, man. It says, neither shall seek the young one, nor heal that is broken, nor feed that standeth still, but he shall eat the flesh of the fat and tear the claws in pieces. Woe to the idle shepherd that leaveth the flock. The sword shall be upon his arm, and upon his right eye. His arm shall be clean dried up, and his right eye shall be utterly darkened. Right, and that goes to you leaders out there, that are leading the flock astray. Blind leaders of the blind. Like Bishop Nathaniel. And he said he had that dream where that whole congregation came and was beating him with bats or something like that. Yeah, you know why? Because you were lying to them. And you know what you're doing. You're very slick. And you're very intelligent not to know what you're doing. You're too intelligent not to know what you're doing. This is why you're able to go into the scriptures. Why? Because that's how you were trained in the past. And you're able to go to the Hebrew and to the Greek and all that. But you don't encourage your congregation to do that. And then you omit certain parts of the gospel to them. At one time, you were even saying that there's no such thing as a time of Jacob's trouble. And then you lied about that, which shows you have no character. So I think that's everything. Oh, matter of fact, I'll read this. Because, as you already know, we did this lesson yesterday about the Gideon, this whole system that they got coming into place. Right? It's one of the things that it said, a bullet point, it says psychological control. If people know they're constantly being monitored by an AI threat detector, they'll alter behavior and speech online. This creates a culture of fear and compliance, a powerful form of mass control, even without overt censorship. And this is why, because the small hats are setting up the playing field of the world to be conducive to them. So that's why everything that you see going on, or the racism and the speaking against the trans people, or speaking against the alphabet people, or speaking against blacks and Latinos and so on and so forth, it's going to be a crime. Guess what? All of that is being pushed. The civil rights and all that is being pushed so that they can benefit off of that. Because they think that they're going to control the world now, but they think they're going to control the world forever. We finally got to the place we want to be. We infiltrated all facets of government. We have everybody's money. Now we can rule forever. Our people can be safe forever. No, it ain't going to go down like that, dog. It ain't going down like that, Lieutenant. It says, while Gideon is promoted as a safety tool, right? Because when we first asked the question to the chat, it said there's not enough evidence coming out. We don't know if this is really real or not. But then it goes on to say that this individual, Aaron Cohen, I believe his name is, he said he's going to launch this Gideon, surveillance thing in a week. So if there's no evidence, if they don't know if it exists, if they don't know if it's even built, then how the fuck is he going to let it loose or whatever, however the term goes, in about a week? Let it come online in about a week. So it says, while Gideon is promoted as a safety tool, the same architecture can be weaponized into mass surveillance and censorship, right? Because I meant to say this yesterday, but I forgot. You had the series Black Mirror, where they showed you that your status in life, as far as having a job, a home, car, whatever, was predicated upon a social credit system. And if you got dislikes, then your status went lower. But the more likes you got, the higher you went up in society. And that's why Esau wants to put this system in place, the beast system. Because once he puts that system in place, he can allow those that he wants to come on board and get rid of the ones that he doesn't want. It's a system of total control. It says, whether it is used to protect or control depends entirely on who runs it. Who runs it? Small hats, Amalek, the individual himself that brought it out. Said it's a Israeli defense thing, whatever the case may be. It says, and history shows that once such systems exist, they tend to expand far beyond their original intent. Remember what Paul Warburg said to Nelson Aldrich, all we want to do is get the bill passed. Afterwards, we can make the necessary provisions. So they're going to paint it as a thing that's going to help, but it's just nothing more than a Trojan horse. And once they get it in place, then they could use it how they want. Once they get the legislation in place, they could interpret it how they want. It's the same plan over and over again. I'll leave you with this one precept in Psalm 64. You brothers already know this, but for some of you that may be new, this right here, this is called the thirsting soul satisfied in God. Oh, that's 65. My bad, I hit the wrong. 64 says, what the oh, okay, that was 63, my bad. Prayer for deliverance from secret enemies. And that those secret enemies are what? The secret counsel of the wicked. Isaiah, I'm sorry, I always get Psalms and Isaiah mixed up. Psalm 64:1. Hear my voice, O Most High, in my prayer. Preserve my life from fear of the enemy. Right, because King David did not have a fear of Esau back then. You know, he kicked Esau's ass. So this wasn't talking about back then. This is talking about now. It says, hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked. And this is their counsel. That's why the Lord said that they are wearied in the multitude of their counsels. From the insurrection of the workers of iniquity. Because there's going to be a great insurrection rising up against the Israelites. It says, who whet their tongue like a sword and bend their bow to shoot their arrows, even bitter words. And this goes into their legislation. They shall speak as a dragon. This is why this is why Maya Angelou said, I care not, give me control of a nation's money, and I care not who makes the laws. Because he understood very well that if you control the nation's money, you control everything, every other facet of that society, of that country. So these bitter words go into their legislation. That they may shoot in secret at the perfect, right? Because they're doing it secretly, but they're making their plans manifest to the people, but painting it as if it's something good for the people to help. It says, suddenly do they shoot at him and fear not. So this thing is going to spring on Jake out of nowhere. Even though they're seeing little bits and pieces of it and hints of it, it's going to catch them unawares. They encourage themselves in an evil matter, the New World Order. They commune of laying snares privately, right? That's the beast system, you know, the different legislations. They say, who shall see them? Because they think the Most High don't see them. They think that the Most High is on their side. They search out iniquities. They accomplish a diligent search, right? So they don't just do things. They analyze, they study, they probe, you know, they test, which testing is probing. They set up certain events, certain scenarios to see how the people are going to react. And based on the people's reactions, then they either, you know, tweak what they do or go full speed ahead with what they already have. Both the inward thought of every one of them and the heart is deep, right? And the only ones that really know the true intentions are the ones within that circle. But even from among that circle, you had some that heard it. It's like, nah, I'm not really with this, but I'm going to get all the information. And then they would leak it. It says, but the Most High shall shoot at them with an arrow, because your whole plans are going to be destroyed. Suddenly shall they be wounded, right? Because you're going to be, the Lord is going to come upon you as a thief in the night. It says, so that they shall make their own tongues to fall upon themselves, right? And that's why you have certain ones of them that turn from within those organizations and expose them. It says, all that see them shall flee away, right? Because you're going to have those that see and get the hell away from them. And all men shall fear and shall declare the work of the Most High, for they shall wisely consider of his doing, right? Because the Lord is going to suddenly destroy you. The righteous shall be glad in Yahweh B'Shem El Shai and shall trust in him, and all the upright in heart shall glory. That's right. So the elect are going to glory. They're not going to deceive the elect. They're not going to destroy all of the elect. They're going to take some. That's how they're going to glorify the Lord. But at the end of the day, the Lord is going to protect his elect. So with that, I pray that you brothers and sisters have been edified. Till next time I say shalom and the water to you brothers for posting all those scriptures. The water. Shalom.